the end of May and the weekend of the Spanish Grand Prix, but the weekend starting with a tribute to Ayrton Senna once again. A memorial unveiled at the start of the weekend to one of the world's greatest ever racing drivers. And the legend, in his own words.
Racing, competing, is in my blood. It's part of me, it's part of my life. I've been doing it all my life. And it stands up before anything else.
And so to turn to the race itself, and words with Flavio Briatore and Max Mosley on safety.
Che gli ingegneri facessero loro le regole per il safety, per la sicurezza.
A lot of meetings going on for the last 24 hours here in Barcelona. Now, could you tell us why the cars weren't running and why they were running this afternoon?
Well, I have to admit, I'm not entirely clear about that myself. When I got here this morning, some of the cars were running and some weren't. And then I was invited to a meeting with some of the constructors. I think they're the ones whose cars were not running. And they told me all sorts of complaints, which I listened to, and we had full and frank exchange of views. I told them exactly what I thought. And after about an hour, I left the meeting and they were running.
The season carries on with its awful round of accidents, with this accident to Andrea Montermini in one of the practice sessions during the weekend. The Italian in the Simtech, who'd taken over the drive from Roland Ratzenberger, looked for a little while as though he may have suffered grievously in this shunt. He came off the circuit. It was driver error, basically, as he ran wide on the last corner coming through onto the start-finish straight. But miraculously and thankfully, Andrea Montermini was not badly hurt. Minor injuries to his legs, but he was back out racing in Indy cars by the end of the year. New rules coming into effect here at the Spanish Grand Prix, reducing the amount of downforce, but it doesn't seem to have slowed down Michael Schumacher by very much. He starts from pole position from Damon Hill, second fastest, Mika Häkkinen third, and JJ Leto in an impressive performance in what turned out to be a very poor year for him, fourth fastest on the grid. It was Schumacher who led into the first corner, however, the sort of sight that we were getting very used to seeing. Damon Hill in second place being chased by Mika Häkkinen. But this race also seeing the debut of another young English driver, David Coulthard, qualifying in 9th position in his first ever Grand Prix for the Williams team. An impressive performance considering he had problems in qualifying as well, which restricted his mileage in the car, and it was his first taste of driving the passively suspended, normal suspended Williams FW16. Well, he was well up in the overall order of things after an excellent start, and his stance would soon become legendary in Grand Prix racing. But Damon Hill was still taking the challenge to Michael Schumacher. The battle going on for second place between Hill and Häkkinen as they come through the tyre chicane, specially created to slow the cars down on one of the fastest sections of the track. Hill stopped on the 19th lap, came back out again in 5th place, Schumacher leading, Häkkinen second, then Alesi and Leto, the rest of the top four. For Leto, the race is going very well indeed after a difficult start to the season and that accident in testing at Silverstone. Unfortunately for Leto, the engine expired on the 53rd lap and he would go out from what would have been his best result of the year, surely. Well, more problems for the Benetton crew as suddenly Michael Schumacher has slowed down and we see Mika Häkkinen in the lead of the Grand Prix. Damon Hill's in second place, Schumacher is only third. The problem turns out to be a gearbox problem. Well, also with gearbox problems is Gerhard Berger. He drops out of the race altogether and Martin Brundle is in 6th place just behind Jean Alesi. Häkkinen unfortunately going out of the race with a blown Peugeot engine, and that means that Damon Hill is now leading, but Schumacher is driving superbly, the car stuck in 5th gear, and yet he's able to lap close to the pace of Damon Hill up front. It's a remarkable drive, and put down by Flavio Briatore as one of Schumacher's finest drives to date. More problems for McLaren Peugeot as Martin Brundle's engine expires in dramatic fashion once again. Also, out of the race, David Coulthard. Electrical problems putting him out of his first Grand Prix, but not until he'd made an excellent impression. Damon Hill then taking the first victory for him for the 1994 season, and at last a glimmer of light for both him and for the Williams-Renault team after such a difficult start. Helped on this occasion by circumstance perhaps, but nevertheless Damon Hill never put a wheel wrong.